Hello, arty peoples, and welcome to another episode of Jerry's Live. My name is Emmy Klein, and I am your host this evening. So today I have a really fun class planned. We're going to be going over a brand new product, and I am very stoked about it. But before I jump into the demonstration and show you all the wonderful things I have on my table here, I wanted to let you know, if you go to the website JerrysArtarama.com and type in today's class code, you can find everything I'm going to be using. And the class code is down here on the screen in case you need to refer back to it. But it is JL326. So if you type in JL326 in our search bar on JerrysArtarama.com, the teacher's cart should come up and you should be able to find everything that way. So we are talking today about oil pastels, and I am so excited about this because I have been playing with these for quite a while. I actually am the one who did the artwork for all of these boxes, so this is a little bit near and dear to my heart. So this is the SoHo Urban Artist Extra Soft Oil Pastels. Now we have 3 different sets that come in either 24 colors, 48, or you're seeing over here on my screen, there's a set of 72. Now, if you are on Instagram or TikTok and you're only seeing a little slim section of my screen, you can always, of course, also go over to YouTube or Facebook and you'll see the bigger screen and a higher resolution that way. So these pastels are oil pastels. And what that means is that just like all of our paints, this is a pigment mixed with a binder. So when that comes to oil pastels, let me scooch this up here. These right here are going to be the pigment mixed with essentially a non-drying oil, and typically they usually add in some waxes to kind of make it a little firmer, and some other things that, you know, depending on the manufacturer, that's what an oil pastel is. Now, note that I said non-drying oil. So these, unlike a oil paint, will not dry. So that's something that you do need to know when it comes to oil pastels. So no matter how long you have a piece sitting there, like this for instance, I did, how long ago did I do this? This has been a while. It's a month? Has it been a month since I've done this? Yeah. So this has been sitting here for a while. If I touch this, I can still get oil pastels coming off. It's never going to dry. Now, I will go over kind of the things that we can do to protect our pieces and how to frame them and things like that at the end of the show. But I wanted to show off these beautiful colors first. So the really cool thing about all of these is that when you open them up, you do have, of course, a piece of foam that kind of keeps it protected as it's, you know, shipping and in transit. But you also get one of these cards that have different ways of using the oil pastels in case you're not familiar with them. They're always great there for a reference, but if you turn it over, you also have little swatch cards. So these are little areas where you can actually swatch your oil pastels. Now, the differences between the sets, I wanted to show you as well. So this is the 24. I'm going to put that off to the side there. This is the 48. Now, the colors that you have in 24 set is also going to be in the 48 set. They will transfer from one to the other. You're just going to get additional colors the more quantity that you have in the sets. So all of the colors found in here are going to be in your 48 set as well as the 72. Now with the 24, what's really amazing is that you also get a couple extra whites, because if you're like me, you'll burn through your white paints or white oil pastels. And then with the 48 set, you also get 4 additional whites up at the top there, as well as the one that's already over here. So I'm going to be using the set of 72 today. Now, while I'm closing these up and shifting things around on my table, if you guys do have any questions about these oil pastels or oil pastels in general, feel free to pop them in the chats, and my amazing moderators, Amanda and Mott, are going to be in the chats there, making sure to get your live questions over to me as they come in. So let me pop this up, get this off the table, and I'm going to just shift this over. I stuck this down on the table. Sorry. I'm going to shift this over because I don't want to put that down here and scratch it. So I have a panel that I have prepared This is just I toned it with a black and a blue, and the white is just the natural surface of the panel. This is the Da Vinci panel that is dual-sided, so there's a super smooth section, or super smooth surface, which I did not use. I used the medium textured surface, so it's a dual-sided panel, in case you guys were wondering. It's really fun. And I'm going to put it right here, right in the middle, and I'm going to use the set of 72, which of course, let's open this up. You get the foam and a little swatch card, and then you get all these beautiful colors. Now, as I throw it across the table, excuse me. Now, when it comes to these pastels, I know a lot of people who are familiar with oil pastels are probably wondering what's the difference between these and a lot of the other ones. When I say these are extra soft, I mean these are extra soft. These are, it's almost like working with the lipstick. They are so soft. Now I'm going to just pop them over to my side here where I can grab a couple colors. I'm going to try and grab a couple colors like the white. I'm going to grab a red. I'm going to grab a blue. If you guys have any suggestions on colors, pop those in the chats and you guys can let me know what colors they vote for. And I will do a couple drawdowns here for you guys to check them out. But in the meantime, so this right here is the extra soft white. And you can see I'm really not applying a whole lot of pressure. I am just merely dragging this across the surface. And I mean, you can even see on the white area of the panel, it is a stark white, so it's really going to show up quite well. And it does not take a whole lot of effort for me to really get good coverage with this. And you can see how much of that pastel I've already used, but it's one of those things that it's a really highly pigmented pastel.
Before you get too far, can you talk about what you used to tone the board with?
Oh yeah, sorry. I used the Turner Acrylic Gouache. This is technically a hybrid between acrylic and gouache, but it's not going to reactivate at all for the purposes of what I'm doing here. And it's not a reactivating gouache. It's got that acrylic polymer in it, so it's more permanent when it dries. The reason why I wanted to tone it with this panel is because it's going to give me a flat matte surface, which is very similar to the panel originally. So I wanted to be able to have it go from one to the other. Now, granted, this right here, the swatch card, it is a little on the shinier side. And if you guys were worried about doing something where it's glossy, I also wanted to show you just how soft these are. This is right here is an acrylic tile. So let me I'll grab this like orangey color, right? This is how easily this transfers onto any surface. It is so soft. It really does not take a whole lot. Like I'm holding it way back here with like 2 fingers, and that's how much pressure is on there, and it's just completely coming off onto this tile. Which, fun fact, this is a really fun way of doing a monoprint, in case you guys ever wanted to do a monoprint. And I can show you a little bit more of that process, but same thing over here. It's very light pressure, and you can see just how much of that is transferring. It is a really solid oil pastel. We have a question?
We have a couple colors that people have requested.
Ah, okay,
so
okay.
MJ Pete wanted to see you mixing yellow and blue together to get some wide ranges of greens.
Ooh.
And then Cheryl wanted to see some purples.
I do love, all right, so let's start with purples because it's just gonna be a straight purple. We have a couple purples in here, and I feel like, this feels very much like my purple, so I think I'm gonna go with this one. You can see just how pigmented that is. So it's kind of funny, like how light it looks on the black. It looks similar to the blue because that's kind of a mid-tone. And then on the white, it's so bizarre how the background will change the way that a color looks, which is wonderful. But that's how quickly it transfers down. Now, MJ Pete, you were talking about yellows and blues to make a green. So I'm gonna go with this. The other thing to note with these oil pastels is they don't technically have color names. So I am just going to sort of say what they look like. And there's not an official color name associated with this. There's no actual name on the stick. So just be aware of that. But this looks kind of like a mid-permanent yellow to me. And I'll do that, actually, you know what, I will do that across all of this quite bright. And you can see how much is coming off and coverage for the pastels going down. Now, let's mix that with, I'm going to do this blue. Now, the one thing to know with pastels, and I'm going to keep this out, or I guess color mixing in general, usually the yellow gets overpowered by a lot of the other colors. So I'm very, very excited that you asked me to mix this because I'm going to have to go back and forth between the two of them. Although you can already see that by just applying it down, it is already starting to mix. Now, granted, I can go back through and mix it a little bit more with my pastel. The other thing I can do is use my hand. Now, if you're not somebody who wants this on your hands, I do have gloves as well. And you know what? I'm going to also, instead of that, I'm going to just use a rag because that's also possible. You can even use a brush. These are probably, I would probably suggest like a stiffer, like bristle brush would probably be better because that would kind of move it around a little bit more. But the only thing to know when you're using something like this, like a rag, you are also kind of picking up some of that. But even though I am picking up some of this on the rag, it's still full coverage on the panel. Now, I also wanted to talk about a couple of different techniques with oil pastels that you can use. So there you go. Now you can see, maybe you can get a little bit more blue down here at the bottom. And I'll scrub that in, maybe get a little bit of a gradient. That's a really lovely way of doing a blend. There's a lot of different things that you can use to blend as far as your tools. Your fingers are great. You can also use like a rag, brush. You can use a couple different, like Q-tips are great. Although I guess I should technically call them cotton swabs because Q-tip is a brand. But yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that you can blend. Now, the great thing about this right here is that, again, I'm going to remind you of a couple different things that you can do with these. So not only can we cover the large areas, we've been doing the lines, we can also do a lot of layering. Like you saw that the yellow can go down on top of the blue just like that. Like I just put a little bit more pressure on there and it gave me a very clean yellow, same yellow that I was using before. You can see just how opaque that covered that. Now if I wanted to, I could also take maybe a red, go on top of that. It is going to start trying to mix on there because I'm also pulling some on my pastel, but you see just how much coverage that will give you. Do we have a question?
Yeah, Nora on Facebook was wondering if they're light fast.
Ooh, that's a great question. I honestly have not heard about the light fast rating on this because it's a brand new product. So
it's on the site.
I was gonna say,
sure.
That's a great thing that I'm gonna have to probably test. I'm gonna probably have to take all 72, and I can do a light fast test in the window here at work. So with that, and those of you who want to see my light fast test, you can always go check out the results that I'm going to post in a future time frame on our Facebook group. So if you want to join that group, it's the Jerry's Life Facebook group, free to join. It is like a group of about 7,000 people, I believe, all artists, all different levels. Everybody just appreciates and loves art. So if you want to join, go right ahead. Make sure you answer the security questionnaire. You're not allowed in. But that way, I'm going to post the results of that there. So you guys can check it out that way. And I can I might be able to get them to upload it to the website, but that's going to be a future question. It depends on their abilities. I don't want to promise anything that I can't personally do. So here's another color right here, which is like a nice lime green, which is really fun. Very, very fun. And let's do like a brown, maybe. Yeah, we'll do like this. Oh, this is gonna be for Katie here. It's like a grayish. There you go. Last one that I'm just gonna try. So I honestly have not had any single color not be amazingly opaque on any surface, really. Now, a couple different techniques that I wanted to show you, which includes this mono printing while I have this on the table. So I have a couple examples here of what I did before, and I'll show you kind of how to get to that, which is really fun because what's cool with the rice paper is that, because oil pastels do not dry, right? I can still feel it and it's still technically coming off on my finger, but it's really absorbed into that paper, which is quite bizarre. It's really fun kind of a way that it kind of reacts with the paper. So I have I'm never gonna pronounce this right. It's sketch paper, but the brand is Yasutomo. Yasutomo. You guys know I struggle with words. Please be kind. My pronunciations are never great. So I have this paper and I'm going to be using that to print this right here on, but I need a couple other colors. Let's do some pink on this side. And I'm gonna do this light blue, which is gonna be interesting because yeah, that orange is gonna pick up on it, which is quite funky. Making mud, essentially. And then I'm gonna do, let's do like a teal right in the middle. So you can see that this one teal color is really obliterating all of that orange and kind of taking over because I'm scrubbing it down in there. And I can, as I get over the pink and over the lighter blue, I can start lifting that pressure and it starts blending. And if I wanted to, I can take my fingers, do one of these, kind of get it a little bit more blended. And what's cool is if I flip it, you can still see that orange that was originally there. Now I could very easily scratch into this, do all types of things, but let me take a piece of this paper here with hopefully a clean hand. And no promises that this is gonna be dead center in the paper. So I'm gonna try and get it sort of centered as much as I care to get it centered. And then I'm going to just kind of press it down and use like the side of my thumb here to just carefully, well, I shouldn't say carefully, I'm just kind of scrubbing at it. And as I press that down, I'm also using this hand to kind of stabilize the paper and the tile, like I can feel the edges here. And I know I didn't go to the edges, so it's okay, but this is a fun way of getting a print. Now, granted, I just scribbled color down, but this is a really fun way of getting a background down, or you can do a couple different ghost prints as well, because like there's still oil pastel on here. You can print it again. I'm gonna do that over here. Although I just did the thing that my one printmaking teacher told me never to do. Once you lay down the paper, don't pick it up. I'm sorry. I did move it a little, so it might have a little bit of a smudge. You have a question?
While you're working on this, are these pastels, would you say they're more student grade or would you say they're more artist grade?
I would say artist grade because it's kind of right in the middle. Although technically speaking, what is artist grade? A student is an artist. A professional is an artist. So, artist grade, what does that mean? But that's one of the things where it's like I would say this is a smack in the middle. Like the price point on these. Can we look up the price point on these? Because I believe they're really, really well priced, which is fantastic.
The 72 set right now is on super sale for $25.99.
Yes. All 72 colors on super sale right now. If you're watching today live, $25.99? Mm-hmm. Yes. So if anybody's watching this in the future and that is not the price, I am sorry. It can shift at times, but right now the set of 72 is only $26. Yes.
It's really funny that you're doing that right now. Mm-hmm. Because James had said earlier he'd like to see a full demo on these soft pastels with making mono prints.
Hey, well look at this.
But he was wondering how many prints do you think you could get from a single application?
I believe I've tested this before with this one right here, and I want to say about 3 before it starts running out of gusto. So as you can see though, this is my original print. This is my second print, which is funny because I don't even know if I would technically call this a ghost print, even though it is, because you've already done a single print. Your ghost prints are the prints that you do afterwards. So it's a little bit lighter, a little bit less intense on the colors because you've already picked up a lot of the pigment already. Now, if I do this again, I think 3 is about as far as I could get before it really runs out of, I guess, kind of oomph. Is that a technical term? Oomph.
I like gusto.
Gusto. Gusto, oomph, all the words I say that are completely, is that made up? I guess that, I've heard it before. I don't know. Origins of words. Also not my forte. So again, I'm just rubbing it with my, the back side of my, or the side of my thumb, I should say. This is also why I don't have great fingernails. There are tools out there for this. I did not include them in the shopping cart because I didn't think about it. I actually thought about doing this process last minute, so I wanted to show you guys the differences in the different ghost prints that you can get. Did I? Yes. Okay. There we go. So after this, I probably wouldn't print it anymore. It's pretty much picked up a lot of the pastel already. But like I said, what you could do then is you can go back on top of this. You can keep adding more pastel to it. You can scratch back in, which is really fun. For cleaning purposes, because this is an acrylic tile that we sell, by the way. They come in a couple different sizes. I think there's even like a 5x5 square, which is really fun. But to clean it, because I know I'm going to get that question, SoHo wipe. These are my favorite. It's also really great in case you get them on your hands. If you get the pastels on your hands, like I've gotten a couple little smudges here and there, take a SoHo wipe and you can just wipe it off, wipe off your hand, and it'll remove it completely. I do love these also because they are biodegradable, good for the environment, but you can see just how quickly and easily it cleans up. You know, turn it around, do a little scrubby scrub, and voila. It's damp, but you know, it's clean. And you can use this for another monoprint, which is wonderful. All right, so I got my scribbles, I got my monoprints. Let's go to different surfaces, which is really fun. I have right here is a Senso Canvas. This is one of my favorites. I do love it. It is a clear primed linen panel. And they also have stretched canvas if you're interested in that too. But for instance, let me grab this really funky green. This goes down beautifully. You can get really wonderful coverage of large areas. Again, I'm just smearing color around tonight, so if you have specific colors that you would love to see me mix together, feel free to let me know. So I wanted to also go in, as I'm blending this into the green, I'm having a lighter pressure as I'm going towards it this way. But then as I go this way to get that blend where this starts picking up more, I'm putting down a little bit more pressure. There's really not a ton really necessary, but then you can get that gradient kind of going on, which is really fun. Let me also do a little bit of blue and blend that into both of those colors. And what's really fun is that you can also start using fun tools. This is clearly a very well-loved catalyst tool that you can also scratch back into the surface. And you can also reveal a couple different colors, which is really great for, and I'll show that with the canvas later on. But you can see the different textures that you can get with that. And this is called Sgraffito, by the way, scratching back into the surface. I also have another very well-loved tool. Ignore the fact that it's pink because it's not supposed to be pink. It's actually, I just have spray paint on it. This is our wipeout tool. Obviously, this is one I use all the time. But this one is a harder rubber. Like, it doesn't have a whole lot of give to it. And this is really fun if you want to remove big sections of color. You can scratch back in that way, and it literally just picks it right back up. If I wanted to, I could also put that down and smear it back around over here, which is great. Or we have the other side here where it's a rounder kind of point where you can kind of almost draw that way. So different surface textures work with this, as well as different tools, which are really fun. Now, one tool I know a lot of people do have is a hobby knife. Please do this with care. I do not want you guys to hurt yourself, please. But this is how I get really, really fine details. Like, for instance, when I was doing this little tower right here, I definitely had put down a darker, the whole thing is toned, by the way, with this darker blue. Same kind of blue Turner acrylic wash that I had on the original panel. But I knew that dark was underneath there. I also knew I had a dark purple kind of right here too that I had covered up with this blue and like a little bit of the peaches and stuff. So when I scratched back into that with this hobby knife, it gave me that really fine little line that looks like the top of a tower, one of the little antennas. So this is how I would get really fine detail. I'm just gonna scratch in a little couple lines here just so you can see kind of the idea. But this is great if you are looking to get detailed scratch marks or kind of reveal colors back that way. So if I were to actually, I wonder, it should work with this. So if I have a red down, I'm gonna take my, because I haven't done it with the Senso Canvas, so it's a bit of an experiment with both of us here. All right, kind of put it into the panel. I removed a little bit more than I wanted to, so I'm gonna put some more back on. But I really wanted to make it red, is the whole idea. That's what I wanted to do, right? But I don't want a ton on there. Yes, we have a question?
Yeah, Cheryl wanted to know how well these oil pastels work on smooth surfaces.
That's the acrylic tile. That is the smoothest surface I can find. That's why I was like, I wanted to show you how to do the monoprints, because if it can stick to that, it can stick to absolutely anything. Like, it would be fine on glass. It would be fine on any kind of a slick surface whatsoever. So now that I have the red underneath there, yes, it is slightly darker right here where it sort of mixed a little bit. But if I go back in, yeah, see, I was wondering if I was going to do this. If I lighten my scratching pressure, I still have some of the red coming through, but that's what, when I saw this, I was like, this might remove a lot of it. So there is a little bit of red still underneath there, but this is actually scratching off that red quite a bit, more than I had intended. If you do this with paper, the first layer that you put down is really going to absorb that color. And then when you put something down on top of it, you can scratch back and reveal the colors underneath, which is really fun. And I have oil pastels all over my hands, yeah. See, they are so soft, so they kind of get everywhere. All right, so now that we got those out of the way, I figured we could do a couple eyeballs, because that's usually what I end up drawing every time I use oil pastels. I don't know why, it just happens. So I'm gonna pick a couple of different colors, and this is not gonna be realistic. It's just gonna be fun colors. So I think I'm gonna go with, let's go with this, like, I think this is like almost like an indigo Prussian blue kind of thing. This is for you, Amanda.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so I am going to try and use the edge of my pastel here to get a couple of fine lines to just sort of solidify my drawing, because right now all I have is just a couple pencil marks on here. That's all this is just graphite. So I'm also going to completely be making up the shading on this, because I don't remember what it looked like in the reference photo. So
While you're working on that, I have a question.
yes, please, all the questions.
James is wondering what other media work well with this for blending and texture, etc. And then we also had a question about whether you could use cold wax medium with it.
Oh, I bet you could. Do we have cold wax medium? I think we do. We might have that. So I would say as far as using cold wax as like a sealant and to put that on top of the surface. I don't think that's a great idea. Because of how soft these are, I feel like that would squish it around. Like if you're trying to buff the cold wax off to get it like a almost like a varnish surface that people do, that's gonna be not ideal because it will move on you. It is so soft. But as far as mixing it with cold wax, I think it's on that that shelf right by the step ladder. We have ladders over here because, as you all should probably know, we are short, so have to have step ladders around.
But she clarified she meant blending it with the
Okay,
oil
cool.
pastel.
Yeah, blending with oil pastel.
And then I also know that you're going to talk about this by the end, but we have some interest in how to finish.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. All right, now I'm gonna actually just use my Senso Canvas here as well as kind of a palette, and I know it's a little painful because it's such a beautiful surface. I promise I will bring this back here and use it for a later thing. I do not have a palette knife though. Can somebody grab me a palette knife, please and thank you? I didn't expect this to be a question. So I do have the Dorland's Wax Medium, and then I'm going to mix that in here on this Senso as like kind of a palette. But in the meantime, I'm just going to continue to scribble on this. So what I'm doing here is just kind of laying down some colors, and I'm going to just hopefully have a light source that sort of comes this direction. Perfect. Thank you. Put that over here. And that way you guys can see. And this is, by the way, just a cotton panel, the Creative Mark artist panel. So just a very standard primed cotton canvas on a panel. Let's do a couple of different colors here. I'm gonna need a couple darker colors here for some shadows. You have a question?
Yes. Valerie wants to know, would it be a good idea to use a PV sizing for this if you were going to be working on it with paper like you would for regular oil paint?
I would say yes. You do want to prepare your paper with some kind of a sizing. You can also use oil paper because that already has sizing in it. The reason why is because, again, this has oil in there. That oil is going to start attacking the fibers of your paper, and you want to make sure that it's archival over time. So you want to make sure that it's not going to eat through the fibers of your paper, which is never fun. All right, so I am apparently drawing a zombie. I didn't mean for it to go green, but it did. That's why I'm adding a little bit of pink, because I was like, I need some life in there. I guess that's what happens when you have green skin tones. And that's, all right, there we go. It's a little bit better. So they mix really well. Like I said, you can use a couple of different things to blend. You can use your finger, just like this. You can use a rag like I did earlier. I'm gonna get a clean one. Now, the lighter touch would be necessary for this because if you scrub at this, you're going to lift all of the pastels, not all of them. You're going to lift up quite a bit of your pastel off the surface that you're working on. And the slicker the surface, the more likely you are to remove it completely. So like this having the canvas texture, it has a little bit more tooth, so it's going to grab. So if I were to scrub at it, it's going to kind of start removing it, but there's still like a haze of that original color in there because it's going into the weave of your canvas, whereas like on that acrylic tile, it's just completely picking it up. So it's one of those things that like it's going to depend on the surface of your panel or whatever it is that you're working on. It's going to determine that. I do love this pink that mixes into the turquoise kind of there. That's fun.
Emmy, going
Yes.
back to the cold wax for a second.
Oh yes.
We noticed that the cold wax will dry, so does that make it so that the oil pastels will dry, or is it
Honestly,
somehow
that's why I was really excited to grab it, because I'm not 100% sure. The cold wax probably will help it have a little bit more of a stable surface. whereas like just the pastel alone would probably not be as stable as mixing it in. Granted, remember, the more of the wax that you mix in, the less pigments you're gonna have per volume. So your colors are not gonna be as vibrant, which is, you know, kind of okay as long as you're accounting for that. But it's one of those things that as long as you're aware, you can make sure that's okay. But I'm gonna probably test that here today. And if we have the time, I don't think it's gonna be cured enough by the end of the show, because I only have about 30 minutes left. I'm not gonna be able to tell you whether or not it's gonna be a stable surface until later. But I can also post that to the Facebook Live group. So let's grab a little bit of this wax medium. Just put a little bit here. Now, wipe that off. Pick a color, any color.
Green.
Which green? I
Light
got
green.
lime green?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna use the lime green and I'm just going to chop it off like it's an ingredient in my soup, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm cooking now.
It's like a green onion.
It's a green onion, there we go. And you saw how quickly that chopped through, let me put that away, chopped through the surface of that pastel. This is not even with any of the wax mixed in. It's so soft. It's almost like using a paint. Now if I start incorporating that wax in there, again, I'm not using a great surface for mixing things because I just grabbed what I had underneath, but it's okay. But I'm curious how well this works, because you are going to have to mix it well. All right. I think that's pretty mixed, and as you can see, it's still quite pigmented. And I mixed about, I wouldn't say 50-50 mixture. I think there's still more pastel than the wax medium. There's quite a lot of wax medium on there. Now, why not? Just gonna kind of incorporate this into my eyeball. Now, I also want to mix a lot more of that wax medium in there. Just actually make that a smaller blob, because if I do that, more wax medium. Have at least two levels of just a bunch of wax medium to that oil pastel. Thank you to whoever suggested this. I'm always a fan of the experimentations when it comes to brand new products. That's the best thing about brand new products, is that you get to play with them. I always feel like a little kid again. You're like, ooh, I wonder if that works. Why not? All right, so I'm gonna put that there, but I'm gonna leave this one over here and see just how well, I almost pulled that off the camera. I wanna see just how well that does over here alone. And then this one compared to the pastels by itself, and then that with the wax medium. But because I did do that, I'm probably not going to blend this with my finger anymore, because Dorland's wax medium does have solvent and I don't want that on my hand. So I'm going to do a couple of little highlights on this guy, and then that's just gonna be it. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna call that done, because I don't wanna stick my hand in that one. Again, I do have gloves down here that I can grab, but if you're ever worried about the things you're mixing into your pastels or getting this on your hands, you can always wear gloves. I know there's quite a few people who don't love the feel of the oil pastels on their hands. You can always wear gloves. It's a great way of doing this. All right, so it's more of a blue-green. Let's go with the purples here. Again, it's a purple era. All right, so let's kind of block in. I'm gonna kind of work almost like I'm using the pastels as an oil oil paint, block in my darks, kind of block in the drawing here. Say that's going to be a dark center of her eye where the pupil is. And since it's pastel, I'm not going to worry too much about getting detailed because I can scratch back in with this. That's what I wanted to try with this, with her eyelashes.
Emmy,
Yes.
would the sizing in watercolor paper make for an archival surface for oil pastels?
I actually had an entire show on how to prepare your paper for oil painting, and I would suggest doing the exact same steps that I did for that in order to use oil pastels, because it's the oil that you're protecting it from. So same concept. If you're going to be painting on it with oil, or if you're going to use oil pastels on your paper, same process. But you do want to make sure that you protect it for sure. All right, now I'm going to just use a little bit of this lighter kind of almost periwinkle color. And again, just like I did for that section where I had the dark, or the green, and I kind of used a lighter, almost green-yellow kind of on top of it, I want to get a lighter pressure as I'm going into my shadows. So there's really not a whole lot of pressure happening at all. I'm barely holding it here. So that's one of those things that if you do this, you will notice that you really don't need a whole lot of pressure in order to get a lot of transfer from this pastel. Now, if you are using your pastel to mix together, again, it's really great to have a like an easy wiper like I have here, and just kind of be able to clean off your pastel. Apparently I'm not great at this today because I'm just smearing it on the sides of it. But yeah, you can use a rag to clean off your pastels really easily. So that way you can get the pure color back. All right, so let's use, ooh, this is a very fun color. She's gonna be a very blue lady. All right, so I have a couple more eyes here to draw. Do we have any color combinations that anybody else is still looking to see?
Blue and orange.
Blue and orange, that's a fun one. Now the question is which blue and which orange, because we have so many options. There's a lot of different blues in here, and I love that. So let me do this lighter color for the inside of the eye. And I am covering up that darker area. Again, I want to use Sgraffito in this one, so I'm not super worried about covering it entirely. But I do want to get a different kind of shade of purple for the iris and kind of blend it into a lighter version. Let's do pink. Because if I take my wipeout tool, where are you, and kind of do one of these, it's almost like Sgraffito, but you're also kind of blending it at the same time. Wow, that looks very evil. That's because the inside of the eye is a lot lighter than the whites of the eye. That's why that is happening. Fun fact. So if I lighten this area, it should help quite a lot. It's also an entire purple eye, so it just looks like a monster. Which is funny. All right, so if I I'm gonna actually take my wipeout tool again. I really like this end because it does have that sharp corner that I can kind of almost draw back in with. And go back in to define some eyelashes. And as I'm scratching it, it's picking it up, so I am going to just keep wiping the tool off.
Ooh, we have a friend on Instagram that would love to see some magenta pop into that one.
Let's do this. This is about as close to magenta as I'm going to be able to get. I think I definitely need to fix this eye because it just looks creepy. it looks creepy, but if I incorporate it into the eye, it's the only place. So if I pop it over here, it makes it a little bit better. And looks a little bit more intentional as like a shade rather than like it's just the only spot. Maybe we will balance it with a little bit of blue too. Oh, that has green on there. That's why. We're just gonna clean that off. There we go. That's better.
Emmy, is there a
Yes.
rule for this style, like this style of medium, where you would want to keep warm tones or only cool tones like separate?
Again, it's one of those things that like if you do get it mixed up, like I just got blue all over my pink, the easiest way to like, if you're wanting to clean this, is just wipe it off with a rag. And it's so soft that like, you see how much just came off, but my pastel is 100% clean. So that transfer from one to the other, and also my thumb, is going to happen just because these are so soft. But the easiest way to just clean it is to just wipe it off, and it's so easy to get it back to pure pastel. I hope that helps. Hope that answers that question. Did I answer that? Okay. That's what you're worried about, is the transfer. So I definitely need those darker lines to make it look less creepy, I think. Maybe we're just gonna darken this eye, because it does look a little creepy. That's better.
It's even Cruella.
Cruella. That's great. I'm not mad about it, honestly. And then,
I like
of
it.
course, to bring a little bit more life in, oh, this is what happens when your white is dirty. It's okay. Gotta add a little bit of life with the white. There we go. That shine, that life that comes in. We have a question?
Yes, I know you were gonna talk towards the end about how to finish these, but
Yes.
Susan wanted to know if you would recommend a fixative.
That is a great question, and actually I can talk about it now while I'm going over these. So the thing that I love the most for oil pastels, I actually have right here, and if Amanda can help me out, because I did not put this in the teacher's cart, I'm sorry. You're the best, Amanda. This is why I love my moderators. She's laughing at me now. This is my favorite fixative for oil pastels because it is specifically made for oil pastels. This is the Sennelier fixative for oil pastels, not to be confused with the one for pencils and charcoal. There's a difference. But this right here is a, what do they call it? A vinyl resin with an alcohol base. So again, make sure you spray this outside. Always take care of your lung health. You don't want to spray this inside your house or in an enclosed area. It's one of those things where you just want to make sure that it is out in a ventilated area. But light coats, and then you can completely coat it. And this is not 100% permanent. You have to know that because the oil pastel never really dries. So if you do scratch the surface, you can break through this and get back to the pastel. But it's one of those things that this will protect it from any kind of dust sticking to it, because these are kind of sticky. And it's just one of those things that, like, it's an oil pastel. It's going to remain this exact same type of a thing over time. So this is definitely a really great thing to do. And that's especially if you are going to have it wide open to the elements, if you frame it without any glass or anything. The other option that you can do also is framing it under glass. Now, you do not want glass to ever touch this, because this will come off on the glass, and that's never great. It's very frustrating when that happens. So make sure that actually, I think even Amy Gardner-Dean, the artist before me, she had an entire show on how to frame oil pastels. And I believe we can have that link stuck in the chats as well for you guys to check out that way. But excellent class on taking care of your oil pastels framing wise. So I think I'm going to skip this eye and I'm going to go straight to these because I'm going to be running out of time. If I'm not careful, I think I'm going to do a little bit more yellow on these here, over here. I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to work, instead of dark to light, I'm going to work light to dark. So, I'm going to do the highlights. Let's That's where I'm guessing they are because I cannot remember for the life of me. Now this is the one thing I was curious about, is that if you start going over your graphite with a lighter color, there is a possibility that it will start to blend into your pastels because the graphite wants to mix in. Again, it's one of those things that like the more pressure you put down, the less it's gonna happen. So just be aware of that. Now I know the majority of her eye is in shadow right there, so we're gonna do a warm kind of tone. How about that? Start working those shadows in, but I need a mid-tone. It's gonna be my orangey yellow eyeball. How about that?
Also, I added that fixative.
Thank you, everyone. Thumbs up for Amanda adding things to the teacher's cart because I forgot last minute. She's the best. All right, now if I go back in with that light yellow, I can blend those together really, really well and not have to even use my finger. But again, I do want to make sure that I am cleaning off my pastel on a clean rag. That way I can get the transfer off my pastel so that it's not affecting later on. Because if I were to start drawing back into this over here, you get that darker yellow kind of coming back in, which is never fun. But it's one of those things that you want to pay attention to what's on your pastel. That makes sense. All right, so let's do a little bit of a peachy color because it's kind of working with this orangey yellow color tone vibe. Now I'm going to just kind of pop this in all over and get a dark red for my eyebrow. And kind of, yeah, a little bit of those creases. Now I have to figure out what I'm doing with this part of the eye. I'm going to actually darken all of that. But I want, so the part of the eye right here, where it's like the whites of the eye, it's probably not going to be very bright because it is supposed to be in shadow. So I want to make it on the darker side, but then have some highlights coming in. At least in my head, that's what's going on. Right? But you can see how well these pastels really do blend from like blending one to the other. You can layer on top of each other. They are quite versatile as far as how well they work together. Now, I feel like there's going to be a question of how well do they work with others, which is valid. And I do have one of my other favorite pastels underneath here, which is the Mungyo oil pastels, which is a brand I believe quite a few people know and love. But before I get to that, draw a couple of eyelashes. There we go. And you know what, just to darken just a little bit more, I'm going to drop in a little bit of this indigo. I feel like that's not quite dark enough.
And when you're doing the Mungyo thing, can you also answer if they'll work with all oil-based medium?
All oil-based medium.
That's what.
Like oil paint.
Yeah.
So with that, you have to remember this is not a drying oil. So oil-based medium, as far as like oil paints are concerned, I would really suggest you experiment just because this will never dry, but oil paint will. So you are now mixing two different things together that one is going to solidify, the other is going to keep moving, so there might be a lot of cracking issues, is the thing that I'm really worried about for you. That's not ideal. You're not really going to want cracks. It doesn't really bode well, and it's not very fun. It might be one of those things that like maybe you can get a certain combination to work together. But I would always suggest that if you do something that's absolutely amazing, you might have to take a picture of it right away because there's no telling if the archival qualities are going to be there. So capture it before it's not there anymore. You know? I also really love blending with white. White is a fun color to blend with. So just need a couple more little highlights here to make it not look like a weird zombie eye. Yeah. Couple of highlights. Why not? There we go. All right, so Mungyo. Now I do want to show you real quick on my, we'll use it on here, the differences between Mungyo and these SoHo oil pastels. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. That is not at all what I'm talking about. They are both amazing products, just so we can go on record saying that. But they're different. So it's one of those things that one might do something that you love and the other might not. And Mungyo is a very highly pigmented oil pastel as well. It's just a little stiffer than the SoHo. And that's just because of their proprietary blend of what's going in there. Now, this is going to be like the best way I can show you. The 2-finger, this is how dark I can get the Mungyo with just holding it way back here with 2 fingers. Was opposed to the SoHo, where I can take the 2 fingers and I can get a lot more coverage. That's just because of just how soft that is. But they should absolutely work together. Now the thing that I know, and that I've recently heard someone say, and I very much love how this is described, you want to go from hard to soft. When it comes to layering mixed media, you want to go from hard to soft because your hard is going to pick up any of the soft. So I'm going to put on a couple of different colors of Mungyo here. I know this blue right here is also Mungyo, so I can blend those together beautifully. But if I were to take a SoHo, it also works quite well with it. You know, you can use them all together. It's not a problem. But if I start taking that Mungyo and trying to go over top of this really soft pastel, let me do a green to show you. And also I can blend it with my finger as well. They will all blend together really nicely. Works well with all the oil pastels, no matter what brand. But this is a Mungyo, and up here is all of that soft SoHo. So I can see I'm just picking it up. I am now just picking up all of the pigment instead of blending it in. So if I come back down here on the back side of my pastel and do that, it's not picking it up because that's the same hardness of the Mungyo that's underneath there. Again, I can still blend it and I can still move it around, but this will pick up your softer pastels. So it's just something to pay attention to. So, but they will absolutely work really well together. And there's no need to have to only use one brand of oil pastels with your artwork. You can use all kinds of brands of oil pastels with your artwork and mix and match. It's really fun. And actually, I can continue to use this for my last eyeball because I have just a couple minutes, so I'm gonna panic paint real fast. Now, if you guys do have any last minute questions, now would be a great time to put them in while I quickly block this in. And again, I hope you guys get a chance to play with these SoHo oil pastels. They're really fun. And remember, hard to soft, so I'm starting with the Mungyo, and I'm going to put the SoHo on top of this. But if you guys do get a chance to play with these, I would really love to see what you guys are making. It would be, I always love seeing your artwork. It makes me so happy. But we have, like I said, the Jerry's Live Facebook group, which is free for you guys to join. And you can post your artwork there. You can, if you have any questions on, if you're having a hard time with a piece and you're just not quite sure what to do with it, it's a really great community where you can always find out answers to your art questions or problems, or just support each other and show each other your art. And I am in there as well, and I love to see it. Makes me so happy. All right, so I'm gonna leave that, and I'm gonna layer on. We're going back to purples and greens. I need to switch it up. Let's do more naturalistic colors now that I have a really funky green down. So if I do this down on top of it, yes, it is going to start blending in with that green, but I am also getting a little bit of the green transfer onto this pastel. It's oil pastel, they're just gonna do that. But this SoHo is so soft that it is kind of overtaking the Mungyo. So if I just lay down a color as a base, I can also take my finger, blend it in. It's gonna be a little bit of mud, that's just okay. Mud is beautiful, it's all right. I'm a huge fan of mud on my artwork. I'm not actually putting mud, like real mud, on my artwork. It's the muddy colors that I'm talking about, I swear. In case anybody's wondering. All right, I'm gonna shove that in there, blend it out a little bit. This is gonna be the fastest eyeball I've ever drawn. I feel like everyone's just waiting to see how quickly I can get this done.
Faster, faster.
But I knew that that green is gonna make it muddy, so if I put this darker kind of, reminds me of Caput Mortem almost. Mummy brown kind of a color. If I put that on there, it kind of removes that muddiness because the more purpley tones mix in with that green, and it kind of helps it. So we're gonna also do the whites of the eyes. I always like to use like a blue, yellow, and like a pink kind of color, because if you really look, that's the different colors that you can see in your eye. So I want a little bit of a lighter color here, so I can get some highlights going. This was technically an older person's eye, so I feel like I need to leave the green eyebrow though. That's really fun. But what color eye should I have? I'm gonna go with blue, because I see Christina and she's got blue hair. We're going blue. Alright, quickly block that in, and I'm gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna put some lighter blue, kind of scribble that in the middle. Then even lighter blue scribbled in the middle. And then I'm gonna take my wipeout tool, do fun scribblies for the eye. I know it doesn't look like much. Hold please. And I'm gonna use black, because I don't ever use black in my artwork, which is very unlike me, but gotta use black. The key with using black is to not just use it in one spot. You have to use it in a couple different spots. So and I'm going to darken just the eyebrow just a little bit. And last but not least, a highlight, which actually I do need to kind of lighten the whites of the eyes just a little bit. Clean it off so I can get a nice, pristine white highlight. And highlights are never perfect, well, I don't want to say never perfect circles, but they're usually not perfect circles. They're shapes of lights or things reflecting in your eye, those types of things. There you go, an eyeball. Panic painting. How long did that take me? A couple minutes? 3 minutes, haha, an eyeball. But it's just, I think it's really just a testament to how quickly these pastels go down. They are so fun, and they really are quite lovely colors. Let me try and see if I can get, I feel like it went from chaotic to like it got better. It's pure chaos as we go around. And then you just ignore that one, because I was like, no, I'm not super excited about that eye. That's okay. I think it worked out perfectly. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That is the new Extra Soft Soho Urban Artist Oil Pastels. It's a lot to say. Make sure I got that all right. Yes, Soho Urban Artist Extra Soft Oil Pastels. It's a mouthful, but they are so much fun to play with. I really hope you guys get your hands on these. Like I said, the set of 72 is on super sale right now for $25 and change, $26. So get yourself a set of these, play with them, post them to our Jerry's Live Facebook group, or you can always tag us at JerrysArtarama on any social media. Love to see your work. And I hope you guys enjoy that. And don't forget, next week, next week, guys, I hope you are prepared for next week because Mott is going to be here with a mixed media technique, which is going to be really fun, and a surprise, a really fun surprise. So I hope you guys are so excited for this. I am stoked. But I hope you guys join us then, and we will see you guys then. Bye!